everybody, welcome to another lesson of learning Japanese. We are covering another anime line of the day with the 4th episode of Tanaka-kun wa Itsumo Kedaruge, and this is going to be the line, I want to live quietly and attract as little attention as possible. So this is a line that you may or may not relate to. If you are living quietly and attracting as little attention as possible, I'm not sure why you would need to state that to someone who shouldn't be in your presence, but either way, we are going to learn this line because reasons. So first up, what we need to do is just hear this line as it's said in the episode in its original Japanese.
なるべく人から注目されずにひっそり生きてたいんだよね。
Okay, so there you go. なるべく人から注目されずに hissori ikite taindayone. And so we know what this line is going to translate to already, but we're going to give a kind of more specific translation, and that is going to be, I want to continue living quietly and attract as little attention from people as possible. So now let's break down this sentence and see how this is working. First up, we have our first vocabulary term. It's going to be Narubeku, and this is going to be basically an adverb, and it's going to mean as much as possible or whenever possible, something along those lines. Next up, we have the word hito, which is going to translate to people. We have the particle kara right after hito to mean from. Next up, we have our second vocabulary term, which is going to be chuumoku, and this is going to translate to notice, attention, observation. It's a noun, but in this line, we're using it as a verbal noun, so the verb suru is going to follow after it. But suru here is going to be conjugated into its passive form, and then in turn conjugated into its zu form. So if chuumoku suru means to notice, then chuumoku sarezu, which is the passive form, is going to mean to be noticed. Then we in turn conjugate sarezu into its zu form, so sarezu, and that is going to translate to without being noticed. The ni there is also included to kind of describe this as an adverbial thing. So zu ni is the grammar pattern that we're talking about here. It is going to translate to without doing something else. And so that doing something else thing is what we're going to cover now as we continue on to the second half of the sentence. And so the next word that we have here is hissori, and this is our third vocabulary term. It is also an adverb. It is going to translate to basically quiet or silent or still. Next up, we have the verb ikiru, which means to live. Here it's going to be in its te form, so it changes into ikite. Then we have the phrasing tai, and this is basically just going to be a more casual form of itai, and this is going to be working with that te form of ikiru. So we should know that the te form of a verb plus the word iru is going to mean basically continual doing of that verb. If you are not too keen on that, check out our video on te form plus iru to mean continual action of that verb. But here what we're doing is we're conjugating iru into its desirative tai form. So iru turns into itai, then we're basically going to drop that i at the beginning of itai to turn into just tai, and that's just more casual basically. So ikite itai is going to mean to want to continue living, and to want to continue living is kind of a weird thing to say because kind of everybody wants to do that. So we notice here that the adverb before ikite, hissori, which means quiet, is kind of what's making this make much more sense, to want to continue living quietly. So yeah, there you go. That's something that you could be bothered to state out loud as opposed to just I want to continue living. And so right after the tai, we have the to kind of add this nuance of an explanation. We have the da copula to end the sentence. Then we have some more sentence ending particles, yo, which is also an emphasis on explanation, and ne is kind of just another emphasis for kind of approval or agreement. And yeah, it's kind of an overload of sentence ending particles, so you definitely don't have to have that every time you use this sentence if you want to use this sentence, but yeah, that's the nuance of the character there working. And now let's just wrap everything back up together, and the sentence again is Narubeku hito kara chuumoku sarezu ni hissori ikite taiんだよね。
なるべく人から注目されずにひっそり生きてたいんだよね。
And this is going to translate to, I want to continue living quietly and attract as little attention from people as possible. And so there you go. That's our anime line of the day. Hopefully a relatable thing to say. And that was coverage of the 4th episode of Tanaka-kun wa Itsumo Kedaruge. And yeah, stay tuned for the next anime line of the day.